Super freaking Mario. No more introduction is needed. You know him, and good chances are you absolutely love him. I mean, why else would you be watching this video? Ever since this guy crash landed in the 80s like Superman in Kansas, gaming has never been the same, and almost definitely wouldn't be as popular as it is today without him. He's just that guy. I've been with Super Mario for a very long time, nearly as long as I can remember just about anything. The classic Mario games are some of the most iconic and most beloved video games ever. Well, most beloved if you're a 40-year-old man who grew up with the NES, but the impact of these games themselves can never be taken away. This is the face of the man who saved gaming in the West and the godfather of my children. I always have to say saved gaming in the West now because I've been educated that the gaming crash of '83 really only impacted America and hardly affected anywhere else, so that's why, yeah. For that, please excuse my ignorance. I'm American. This is what the world looks like to me. But that is to say, if I'm getting crap for not knowing about the gaming crash of '83 in other regions, I get to make fun of the British for anything because they suck and they eat piles of poopy for breakfast. Sorry guys, I don't make the rules. Anyways, back to this guy. Popped from the mystical bowels of Shigeru Miyamoto, Mario went on to star in Donkey Kong because Nintendo couldn't get the rights to Popeye. Imagine how that could have gone down. Ugh. Mario's a happy little accident, and we love him for that. I mean, just look at the guy. He reeks of icon status. The red hat, blue overalls, the brown shoes that'll kick you in the next week, the works. But are his games really that good? That's it. I'm cutting the crap. I'm cutting to the chase. Put your clothes back on. We're talking about Mario, if you couldn't tell. This video probably couldn't have come out at a better time because, surprise, surprise, ring ring, it's Mario's 40th anniversary. And what better time could there possibly be to revisit good old memories than on an anniversary? Mario's old. He's been around for a very long time. I also wanted to have something fun to do on my channel during the second year on YouTube, so me and Mario, we're collaborating, working together on something very special. This year, I'm going to be going through every single mainline Mario game and reviewing them all in the Mariothon 2025. That's right, every single game, minus the sports games, the racers, the parties, the RPGs, basically everything that isn't a mainline title. Starting with the first one. No, not that one. Super Mario Bros. Is really what set up the NES to be as big of a hit as it was. Packaged with the NES was the Zapper and Duck Hunt, and you got a lot of bang for your buck when you purchased one of these things. Duck Hunt was cool and all, but it was clear that Mario really stole the show. Simply fun, platforming action. You run, and you jump. It didn't get any easier than that. It's also in the original Mario that you can see where so many staples of the franchise got its start, not only with the characters and enemies, but the structure as well. 8 worlds, the second level usually being underground, sometimes depending on the game, the power-ups, the bosses, the really bad controls. Wait, yeah, this game doesn't control well at all. When I sat down to play it, I was hardly having a good time primarily because the controls were just unbearable. This game was also on the NES, and when you're a game on the NES, that's right, that means your game is naturally going to be filled with much more random BS and difficulty spikes because of older hardware. To be fair, that's just how games were back in the day. It was to keep you coming back for more, but at the same time, this sucks. When playing the game, all I could think of was that one Moon Knight image. In all honesty, most of the difficulty primarily stems from the poor controls. It's extremely slippery, and if you jump, it is ride or die with those guys because there's absolutely no momentum in your jumps whatsoever. If you're in the air, you better pray to Nintendo Jesus that you don't land in a pit. Or an enemy. Yeah, I died a lot in this game, and yes, I used the rewind feature on NSO. It's not something I wanted to use, but at the same time, I didn't feel like restarting the game every 5 to 10 minutes because of random BS. The level design isn't really great either. Hell, I wouldn't even call it good. Of course, we remember the iconic levels known as 1-1 and 1-2, but even those levels aren't really like the best designed. I mean, for Mario standards, yeah, they're the best in the game, but then you get further and further along, you just start to wonder what the hell Miyamoto was on while designing this game. Well, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Yeah, sure, just toss a bunch of bullet bills and piranha plants everywhere. If the players want to finish the game, they gotta get good. Saying that this level design is challenging isn't even the problem either. It's only challenging because the game controls like dookie butt and the levels are designed pretty poorly. This game is challenging for the wrong reasons. The last level I played before I quit was 7-4. A simple world away from the finish line, but I spent like 7 minutes just trying to navigate this nonsensical design. I get that it loops, I can see that, but I don't even know how I got past it all. I was just running until something happened. I timed out about 2 times on this level before I had to put down the controller, just say, you know what, I'm done. No more, I'm done, I'm out. Super Mario Bros. Is very clearly a game we only choose to remember because of the legacy it left behind and not actually the game itself. And this goes for most of the NES games as a whole, except for Mega Man because those games are still really, really good. Unless you're nostalgic for this era of gaming, it is really hard to find any redeeming qualities to this very primitive era of gaming. Why would I choose Mario on the NES over something like Mario Wonder on the Switch? Because it's newer? Yeah, kinda, but more importantly, that game is far better designed than its predecessor. Now, that may be an unfair comparison, considering this is the very first Mario game and Mario Wonder is the most recent at the time of writing this, and you'd be right. I guess Mario 1 can get a pass because it is the very first in a long line of games to come. I mean, it did lay down the foundation of how Mario would be played and perceived for 40 plus years at this point. This goes the same for many of Nintendo's franchises, Zelda especially, but you know as they say, first is the worst, and second is the Nope, it's even worse. This game is so much worse. No wonder this didn't release in America. The first one was bad enough. How did they make it even worse? And why is the sky black? Did someone just summon Shenron and not tell me? To whoever did, can you wish for the game to be good? If this is your definition of good, then you deserve to be shot. If you're shocked I'm moving on to this game so fast, I cannot blame you. Hell, I'm shocked too. The most I can really say on the lost levels is that if you didn't like Mario 1, you're really not gonna like this game. Something random BS go, but 100 times more. You got springs that launches you up in the air for far too long, you got the same bad controls, and now you have the mushroom that makes you small. There's only so much rewinding I can take before I feel like shooting myself, okay? I can at least tolerate the humiliation of starting over in Mario 1, but this game? I guess we'll never know since I never restarted, but I assume I'd be pissed. I got stuck in this part in the second world, I tried for a bit and gave up because you know what? Sometimes you just gotta put down the bottle and think for a while. And to those who may say something as hilarious as skill issue in the comments, I have a job. I have never played more than half of the first level in this game. If you take away anything from this video, it's that I beat the first level of this game. Game still kinda sucks though. Very glad this didn't get off the ground too quickly. Probably one of the most surface level tip of the iceberg facts about Mario 2 is that it's just a reskin of Doki Doki Panic. This isn't new information, even the most casual Mario fans know something like this. But what they may not know is that this is technically the first Mario ROM hack to ever exist. Yeah, let that one sink in for a moment. You can tell right off the bat that this isn't your traditional Mario platformer. There's far more you can do this time around, but the game would surprisingly be the jumping on point for even more Mario traditions that we see today. You have multiple playable characters, all with their own unique abilities. This is something that we would see in a Mario game much later down the line in Super Mario 3D World. Mario is your regular platforming guy. He plays the most traditionally and doesn't really have any special abilities. This, by default, makes him the worst character in the game. I see some people looking at Mario rosters to say things like, who looks at all these characters and wants to play Mario? It's me, Gwanda. I want to play as Mario.
Wait, your name is Gwanda?
But he's practically useless in this game when everyone else has something that makes them unique. Mario's uniqueness comes from the fact that he isn't unique. Luigi has his classic and iconic high jump, which honestly feels disgusting to control. A Toad, I have no idea what he does. I didn't play as him, and Peach can float in the air for a little bit. Like I said, playing from Mario 1 and Lost Levels, there is hardly any Mario DNA in this game other than the fact that Mario's in the title, and you need to get from point A to point B. This is far more of an action platformer, if anything. There are now combat maneuvers, secrets to be uncovered, and upgrades to be found. Wait a minute. This isn't a platformer! It's a Metroidvania! I mean, it's not like the combat was anything great, tossing things at other things. For its time, I guess it was definitely advanced. I guess. Each one of these games is about an hour-ish long if you aren't stupid, or less than 20 if you're me and chose not to participate. I'm not trying to get into this. I've played what I needed to, and it still wasn't very fun to me. Like, it was better than both of the games I played previously, but at the same time, it still wasn't up to par with what I've come to know Mario with. If this is what we call the golden age of Mario, I'm sure as hell not seeing it. Okay, maybe I'm seeing it. You know, it seems like Nintendo finally hit a really good stride with Mario 3. This always used to be my favorite classic Mario game, as it was one of the ones that I just found the most enjoyable. World was a close second, but I always remember preferring the level design in 3. Did I beat either World or 3 as a kid? No, but that changes today. The controls were still a little weird getting used to. Coming in from every Mario game and watching the series evolve as I go is honestly a treat, but at the same time, I'm used to how the previous game controls, and it takes some time getting used to the new game. Same thing here for Mario 3. I was having fun, but holy crap, I sucked when I started. This is really embarrassing to admit, but getting a game over in the first world was definitely not on my bingo card for playing this game, but not long after I got a handle on the controls, and the game, as good as it was to start, got leagues better because of it. I did the oldest trick in the book. I crouched for a few on the white block and got the warp flute as a secret, but I didn't want to get to the end as quickly as possible. Sure, it would be nice to have the time on my side, but I'll save it for when I get bored and want to beat the game quicker. I pretty much only knew Mario 3 because of this first world. Beyond it, I had never gone to the second, third, or any other world. Playing this game was simply joyous. It's a grand and whimsical adventure that I think every Mario fan needs to play. They just kind of fixed all the problems that I had with the previous games, which, in the end, made the game amazing. The controls, while still not as tight as I would like them to be, are a massive improvement on what Mario 1's controls were. My goodness, it feels so good to be able to actually correct your jump trajectory in this game. You don't even think about how lovely it is to be able to do something like that until you don't have it, and it makes you appreciate the mechanic a lot more. Thank God Mario games don't have similar physics to real life, and the jump trajectory is why. The stage length is also perfect. You can cheese certain levels if you know what you're doing, which is, let's be honest, not very hard to do. I guess my only big complaint with the game is that the bosses suck super hard. Like, I'm genuinely impressed with how much they suck. You bop them on the head 3 times in the span of 5 seconds and you win. The most they do is jump kind of high and spin for a second before you bop them on the head again. Like, alright, it's cool, I guess. This and many other things seem to be very commonplace for Mario nowadays. When playing through Mario 3, some things were very clear to me on certain mechanics and where they got their start in Mario. The world map, the enemy encounters on the map, the Toad houses, the Koopalings, getting to equip an item before a level. This game feels a lot more like a complete adventure than any of the Mario games so far, and I realized the new Super Mario Bros. Series takes far more from this game than I had originally ever thought. It's interesting to think about because I never did beforehand. Despite the bosses being garbage, Mario 3 was a really fun time. Definitely my favorite game so far. It lacks a tiny bit in the challenge department, but is made up for tenfold in the overall level design and controls. The game is simply great, and I would go into Mario World next as it is the next mainline game in the series, but there are a set of 2 Mario games that released around this time that I feel are often overlooked. 2 games that aren't really in the conversation when talking about Mario's golden age. That's right, Mario Red and Blue. Wait. Super Mario Land is if they took the original Mario Bros. And made it actually fun. Sure, I used the rewind a few times even though I didn't really need to, but this game is just actually kind of fun. Yes, it does kind of look like Dookie and plays a little poorly, but this game didn't make me quit 5 minutes in, so that counts for something surely. Mario is in Sarasa Land as a new Mario staple character is introduced, Daisy. Mario moved on from Peach. He learned some very valuable life lessons from Bowser, and I quote, "Can't turn a cheating princess into a housewife." Hell, Bowser and Peach are just nowhere to be found. It's just Mario and Daisy. Not to mention, this is probably the most creative Mario game we've seen yet. Definitely not ever, but we haven't seen anything like this in the franchise up until this point. Or after, if I'm being honest. If anything, it's the funniest Mario game up till now, because one moment you're walking in World 1, you beat the boss, and is that a fucking UFO? Oh well, best keep moving. Moai? Why are we in China? Half of the fun of this game strictly comes from how unprepared I was to see all the things that I saw in this game. The last thing that I was expecting to see in Super freaking Mario Land was a horde of Moai enemies coming to attack me. It genuinely shocked me. Long gone are the days of Goombas. Replace them with a tiny little Moai with arms that comes chasing you. Forever the Moai gods watch and judge your every step. Pretty much the only Mario enemy that returns in this game are the Goombas. I mean, I would say Koopas. Oh my god! They explode now? Michael Bay's Super Mario over here.
Human.
Something new here is also the shooting levels, where Mario straps himself in a submarine? Is that what it is? Well, he straps himself in something, and we spend an entire level lighting enemies up as we fight a boss as well. Shoot him a couple times, and...
That's it?
yeah, this game isn't very long. I didn't mind the 3-act structure like it was Sonic, but I wasn't fully expecting only 4 worlds, and to be honest, I was kinda sad. I was shocked at just about every world's theme, and I was really looking forward to see what kind of crazy-ass theme they'd pull out of their butt next, but nope. The day is done, Mario won, and all is happily ever after. Or so it seems. While Mario was away in Sarasaland for all of 30 straight minutes, Wario, the fat greaseball we all know and love, made his grand debut in Mario history as he just straight up took over Mario's castle? Because he always had one of those. Yeah, thanks Brett Kahn. This is where Super Mario Land 2 comes into play. One of the 3 classic Mario games I've actually beaten before making this video. The other 2 being the original Mario and Yoshi's Island, if you can count that as a Mario game. I mean, it says Mario World 2 somewhere on this title, so I guess by proxy, the first Wario Land also counts, but we're not talking about those because they're in a really weird gray area and I just don't want to get into it. Wario, Wario, Wario. I love a Wario. Have I talked to you about Wario yet? I've been dying to talk to you about Wario all day. This little fat sack of garbage is why I stick around with Mario. That's a huge over-exaggeration, but if we took out Luigi from the equation, Wario would be my favorite Mario character. Hell, catch me at a bar on Thursday night and it might just be the case. This guy is generational, which makes me question a lot of people's integrity as we have so many well-mannered and well-liked Mario characters to choose from. Yet I choose the objectively worst character on the roster. Wario just kind of represents being the biggest bully in the schoolyard, both figuratively and literally. He is the most abhorrent piece of garbage known to man, and it's not a situation where this guy gets bullied at home. No, he's just a piece of shit for the sake of it. Bro had absolutely no beef with Mario, but the moment he stepped out of his house, this guy loads it with a ton of death traps and calls it his own mansion. To get his mansion back, Mario must take a brisk lap around his property and collect the 6 golden coins from the main areas in the game, and credit where it's due, this game is a massive step above whatever Mario Land 1 was supposed to be, and I liked Mario Land 1. This game takes everything the first did and simply makes it better. The controls, better. The story, even though it doesn't matter in the slightest, better. The characters, sexier. The graphics, a lot better. This game really has it all in terms of improvements. Of all the games I could judge harshly, Game Boy games aren't really the best since they do run on extremely primitive hardware, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There are just a few things in this game I absolutely do not like. 1, the performance. Knowing Nintendo, this is probably on them. I don't know how it ran on the original Game Boy, even though I did own it at one point. Playing this game on NSO just kind of sucks at times because the frames will drop constantly with no remorse. It's not unplayable by any means, but it does get bad at times. Not fun. Another thing that felt a lot more prevalent in my run is that sometimes, only sometimes, things were a little hard to differentiate from the background. In the last area, I explored the Turtle Zone. These are, what I can only begin to describe as horribly malformed ribs on top of the ceiling, and I thought they were just background decor, but nope. I died on them a few times. It's not the worst thing in the world. That was just one example of a few. Like, it doesn't ruin my enjoyment or anything like that. Once I know it's not part of the background, I know for good, but sometimes it just gets really difficult to tell. Speaking of the zones in general, unfortunately, Minions, I bring bad news. The creativity of the first Mario Land has been lost to time because the zones in this game, while fun and creative for Mario standards, just don't have the same impact they did in one, except for like Pumpkin Zone. Mario gets transported to the world of Castlevania and has to find off such incredible foes like Jason's severed head and Dracula, freaky wall decor, that one karate Pokemon. After collecting all of the 6 golden coins, you're sent for one final showdown against this evil son of a bitch. While playing through the game, I was listening to my classic and iconic 50 million hour unorganized playlist, and I kid you not, and no jokes with this one, the perfect song came on at the perfect time. This fight was remarkably easy. He had a few phases, which was pretty cool. Definitely a more cinematic and epic fight than whatever any boss that came before was. You could at least tell that you were at the end of the game. There was build-up. There was suspense. There is the end. Huh. Mario Land 2 is really damn good. I don't know why I love this game so much. I just do. It's fun, it's short, it's pick up and play, and it introduced Wario, and they say the second coming of Christ hasn't happened yet. I tell them otherwise. This game is especially fun when you get the carrot power-up and skip the whole level. Yeah, great design, Nintendo. Super Mario World is the final game of what I would call the classic era of Mario. This was before everyone made the switch to 3D and platformers were still stuck on the 2D plane. This game released in late 1990 and was home to the Super Nintendo. If this console is known for anything, it's known for the games that are on it and the vast improvements it made to its franchises with some outstanding games. I want to make a video talking about the Super Nintendo one day, as it really does hold some of Nintendo's best games, and those games are some of the most iconic and beloved within their franchises respectively. Super Metroid, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Earthbound, and many others are considered by many to be the best in their franchise. Link to the Past is a bit of a stretch, but before Breath of the Wild came out, it was always debates on whether Ocarina of Time or Link to the Past was the best game. My point is, Super Mario World has some big shoes to fill. Super Mario 3 was an amazing game and is one of my favorite platformers, period. Mario 3 just has it all, but Mario World has prettier graphics, I guess. I can't really remember the last time I really sat down to play this game. All I remember is that I never got past World 1. Not necessarily because of its difficulty or anything of the sort. If you quit a Mario game because it's too hard, then something must really be wrong with you. Starting off the game, the thing that I noticed right away was, of course, how Mario controlled. This has been a very common topic with what we've been talking about for this video, and the controls, at least in my opinion, are some of the most important things to get right in a Mario game. This definitely isn't the worst he's controlled, but it's far from the best. Clearly, Nintendo wanted to keep the momentum-based platforming they had in Mario 3. No, not momentum-based as if it were Sonic. The momentum in Mario 3 really carried the feel in the game, and it was great to just run around and fly. Here it's kind of off, to say the least. Like, yeah, the momentum is still there, but it doesn't feel as good as it could feel. I'm not really sure how I could describe it. The best way is that Mario starts out really slow, and then all of a sudden it kicks up to 100. Like, well, yeah, that is how momentum works, but it's not in a way that felt natural. The walk speed in this game is insufferably slow, and you start out at that speed for so long before being shot out at full speed, and it was just really jarring to get used to. This was definitely the game that took the longest amount of time to get used to because of it. In Mario 3, the running speed felt like a gradual increase from 0 to 100, but here, it's like it skips half of the numbers and goes from 0 to 75 and then 100 with very little buildup. You just go, which is obviously fine for some people, as all of the Kaizo runs of the fan-made levels, watching all of that, there are really people out there who have mastered the controls of this game, and that's awesome. But they aren't for me. I mean, they definitely aren't bad. I don't think I could ever call this game's controls bad. More Subjective, although the game's controls are leagues better when Mario hops on Yoshi. This little guy's debut game and he's already making it better with his sheer presence. Yeah, riding Yoshi makes this game feel a lot better, and maybe that was the intention so you won't lose him as often. Like, that's like the reward, the payoff, I don't know. Level design, however, I don't really know what to call this. I haven't seen a Mario game this zany in its level design ever. Before or after, in all honesty, and it's not like Mario Land, because it was the themes that were crazy in that game, not the level design itself. The level design in this game, there's about 2 separate ways that I could see the levels being designed in this game. The design offers some cool elements to it, I won't lie, so it was either the developers carefully and thought-provokingly thinking out and crafting a perfect level as an attempt to evolve the way Mario levels are done for the new 16-bit age. Or Miyamoto got hammered one night and started coding. Some of these levels feel like some kid's fever dream fully realized on Mario Maker, and even then, some level mechanics just never come back from this game. Take into account that this is still my first time fully going through the game, so a lot of my reactions in this video are the exact same as when I went through this game. I was absolutely flabbergasted at some of the design choices made here, like the Forest of Illusion, for example. You have to find a secret exit in the 3rd level to advance onto the next area, but how am I supposed to know that? I mean, sure, Forest of Illusion makes sense, the name, and I went in trying to figure out some kind of puzzle, but there was hardly any indication on what I needed to do or where I needed to be to do it. To be honest, I kind of forgot that secret exits were even in the game, and 5 worlds in, this was my first one. Again, first run of the game, totally blind. I'm sure if I had grown up with this game and played it to hell and back like the other Mario games, I'd be able to beat this game within an hour, but that just wasn't the case. Another thing that was in abundance that I just didn't like very much were the ghost houses. There are a ton of these littered in the game, and I don't think I've had fun with a single one of them. Some were pitifully short and required you to solve some kind of puzzle to progress. It's nowhere near as bad as what 7-4 was in the original Mario Bros, but these levels still frustrated the heck out of me, and it felt like a huge pace breaker to the other levels I had played beforehand. Although, outside of Yoshi, one of my favorite game mechanics was the inclusion of a connected world map. Every level you tackle and every world you visit is totally connected on the island you travel. In Mario 3, the world map was very disconnected from one another, and you felt like you were really going from place to place as they were vastly different from one another. In Super Mario World, you still have those wildly different areas, but they're all connected through a single map that Mario traversed throughout the game. It almost feels like you're venturing in a Zelda-like overworld before selecting a level. Those were the vibes I got from the world map, and it's a shame that not every 2D Mario game would follow this going forward, but the ones that do really make the world feel more alive and fun to walk around in. I don't want to give off the impression that I do not like this game, because that just isn't the case. I enjoy this game for what it is. Is it my favorite 2D Mario? No, I think Super Mario 3 has it beat if we're just comparing the classic Mario games. I still think it's leagues better than almost anything we've talked about so far though, like it's right under Mario 3. Super Mario 1 was the foundation for everything to come. Mario 2 was more of the same. Mario 2, again, was not a Mario game, and Mario 3 was a complete evolution of what came before and mastered what it meant to be a Mario platformer. World nearly succeeds at being a better game than Mario 3, but I do think that Mario 3 was the consistently better experience, and less of that game stood out to me in a weird light. Mario World has a better art style, better soundtrack, overall presentation, just about everything you'd expect from a game like this as we're comparing 2 games from different generations here. Let me explain it this way. When I beat The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and The Wind Waker for the first time back in 2024, I had made a comparison to my friend that comparing the two can be a difficult time because on the surface, they appear to be just another entry in the Zelda lineage of games. I swear, this ties back to Mario, just bear with me, we're almost at the end. I preferred Twilight Princess to The Wind Waker because while Wind Waker was a very consistently pretty good experience overall, I don't think it hit the absolute highs that Twilight Princess had, even though it had much lower lows. It wasn't anywhere as consistent, I guess, as Wind Waker. Wind Waker might be the more replayable game and hardly has as much lows as Twilight Princess, but the highs of the latter made up for any lows the game threw at you, and I'm kind of comparing Mario 3 and World in the same way, but kind of the opposite. Mario World did not break as many highs as I would have liked it to. Nowhere near as many for me to prefer it over 3. The boss battles were better, but not by much, and even then that bar is it's lower than low. It's through the damn floor into hell. There is no bar. It just doesn't exist. But the consistent high highs of Mario 3 overall gave me a better time. But the improvements made in Mario World over 3 can't be understated. My opinions aren't fact, nor should they be taken as such. I'm a 21-year-old YouTuber. For the love of God, think for yourself. This is just how I feel, but it's clear that every Mario game from the beginning on NES to Super Mario World on the SNES had major improvements on every single game that eventually shaped the Mario we know and love today. Humble beginnings, as they say. It's no secret nor hidden fact that the Super Mario franchise completely revolutionized gaming forever. This was the guy that pulled gaming out of its crash in 1983 in the West and continued to squash the competition thereafter. No other platformer could come close to the heights that Mario achieved back in the day. Even the new titan of the industry at the time, Sonic the Hedgehog, couldn't keep his crown for long. With Mario constantly carrying and revolutionizing the industry back in the day, making games that had never been seen before, you would think Miyamoto, and by extension Nintendo, would take it easy for a while, to keep making more of what customers know and love. But instead, Miyamoto hit the fattest line and said, "You wanna see us do it again?"
It's me, Mario!